Hey everybody, the Valentine's Butterfly is back again. Okay, so happy Valentine's Day everybody. I figured for Valentine's this year I would do a little pinup thing, so hopefully you like it. It's Valentine's Day, so I thought for my video this year I would tell you guys about my first huge crush in high school. I had just moved. So I just started a new school and I didn't know anybody. It was near Christmas. And in my keyboarding class where we learned how to type, one of our assignments was to type a whole bunch of Christmas carols without looking down at the keys. And my friend and I, who were in singing class together, and we sat next to each other at the computers, we decided that we were going to sing the Christmas carols as we typed. And so we were singing, and then after we had finished, we went over to my other friend to just say hi, and she was sitting next to this guy who I never really noticed before. And he looked up at me and he said, "That was so beautiful, it sounded like a real angel singing." And bam, I was hooked. I've always remembered that. So for the next 3 years, I was in love with this guy. Now, because our teachers always used to seat us in alphabetical order, it always worked out that he was sitting in the desk right behind me. So that gave me a lot of opportunity to turn around and chit-chat and giggle and make jokes with him. I wouldn't say we became good friends. We were more like acquaintances who talked to each other during class. And every once in a while, if I had a question, if I didn't understand something, I could turn around and I could ask him because he was really smart. He was really cute. He was very tall and he had like nice hair and it was like a dirty blonde and he had a very nice face. I just thought he was the greatest thing. He was very sweet, very nice. He's a really good guy. Cute little dresser, even though we always wore uniforms, you could still tell. Just a really nice person. And over the years I got to joke around with him more and get to know him more. I found out that his favorite movie was Scent of a Woman, and I like had that movie, so I watched it like over and over and over again so that every time I'd see him I'd have another like Scent of a Woman thing to talk to him about. And it went on like that for years, from grades 9 to 11, 9, 10, 11. And I was so in love with him. Like, I could literally see the church and him standing in the tux at the end of the aisle with the ring. Like, I could visualize that so vividly. I was so in love with him. And I did the dorky thing where I'd write his name and my name with little hearts and books, and my friends knew that I liked him, so they, you know, steered clear of flirting with him. And yeah, I remember the first time I ever called a boy on the phone, it was him. I was in art class doing a lot of sculpting at the time, and I called him because I wanted to sculpt his face out of clay, his head, his entire head, out of clay. And I called him because I wanted to ask him if a couple nights a week he wanted to stay a little bit later after school, hang out with me in the art room so that I could sculpt his head out of clay. And it took me hours to work up the courage to make that phone call. And I remember I was listening to the radio, and I don't remember the band, I don't remember the name of the song, but a song came on the radio, and I still to this day remember that song, and I called him immediately after the song finished. I don't remember the name of the song. How does it go? All my life, I needed someone like you. And after all that I finally found you, all my life I needed someone like you. you still love me too? I don't actually know if those were the words, but that was the melody. Anyways, that's the song that was playing on the radio, and when it finished, I called him. And I asked him if he would be my model, and then he said no. I was a bit disappointed, to say the least, because that was my plan. I was going to have him alone to myself in the art room, and we would fall in love, right? And he said no. So that ruined that plan. Plus, you know, even if, you know, he didn't fall in love with me, at least I would have the opportunity to touch his face. He had such a beautiful face, I wanted to touch it. And that plan got foiled. So that didn't happen. So time goes by, and finally one of my friends, who I don't know how, but she didn't know that I had a crush on him, found out. And she was sort of friends with him too, and she's like, I'm gonna tell him you love him, and I'm gonna tell him today after school, and he, you know, you're either gonna end up together or you're not. And I was like, that sucks, don't do that. And she's like, no, I'm doing it. And I couldn't convince her otherwise. So that day after school, she went to him in the back of the school by the buses, and I take the bus home. And I walked in right as she was telling him, and I saw him look at me and her look at me and me look at them, and I just like dropped my head and walked to my bus. I couldn't believe she had done it. Worst day of my life. Worst night of my life, because then after I had to, you know, wonder all night, you know. He knows now. He knows that I love him, and what is he gonna say? I mean, how is he gonna react? What is he gonna do? I can't face him. I can't, right? So I was so upset the whole night. The next day, I go to school, and normally in the mornings, I would go to his locker and I'd hang out with my friends, but that morning I just didn't want to. I couldn't face him now that he knew that I loved him. And my friends dragged me there because they knew if I didn't show up it would be a lot worse than if I did. And literally dragged me there, which was actually worse than showing up because I was physically being pulled. And he talked to me and he told me that we were friends and he just wanted to stay friends, and that's all he wanted, and he didn't want to ruin our friendship. And so nothing ever came of it. We never started dating. But I have to say, it was the best thing that ever happened for our relationship, because after that, the secret was out. I could talk to him so much more openly. We could joke around about it so much. And I used to tease him about it all the time. I used to go up to him and be like, you better be careful, I'm gonna kiss you. You know, like I always used to tease him about it, and he promised he would save a dance for me at the prom, and it just made everything so much easier to have that barrier down and actually be able to talk to him and not being afraid of him finding out how I felt. So yeah, that's definitely my opinion and what I encourage people to do. If you have somebody that you really like, I really strongly suggest just tell them, because worst case scenario, if they don't feel the same way, at least that barrier is gone. Also because not knowing is just so much worse than having them reject you. I mean, honestly, I really thought that, God, I can't tell him if he doesn't like me, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't go back to school, my world just ends. No. It was so much better to have him know and be rejected, but not have to wonder. So I strongly suggest telling the person that you like them. It really was the best thing for my relationship with him. It really was. We got to have so much more fun afterwards. So it's definitely what I encourage. Telling someone you love them, it's never a bad move. So anyways, that's all I had to say, and that's my story of my first huge crush that went nowhere. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, everyone, and again, have a great Valentine's Day. Bye, kittens!